Oh, hello and welcome and greetings. It is Monday evening. It is time for a nice, awesome conversation here on Inspired Inc. I love doing the show every week again. I say this every episode, but like doing these conversations, it means so much, and they've been such a blast. Our last couple convos were just so much fun. Javier Hernandez was like a great thing. If you didn't get to see last week's conversation, go back and check that out. It was all about cons and coming back from a con and about to go into a con this coming week. It's one of those things where that conversation really resonated. And actually, me and my guest here today, I'm super excited to introduce in just a second, just hung out at a convention all weekend, and so there's so much to talk about, so we're just gonna hop right into it. Hello, Anthony. Dude, welcome to the show. I've seen your face all weekend. I'm happy to see it again. How are you today, post-con?
Yeah, likewise, man. The con was great. You made it 10 times better, 10 times more fun than, I had no plans really going into it. And us meeting up really like changed the entire vibe. Like before that, I was kind of like, I don't know, am I dreading this? Am I like, but once we started hanging out, man, the rest was smooth sailing. So I had a great time. I'm feeling tired, but it was good times, man.
Dude, same. I went there with really no intentions other than I got to go talk to tables. I had intentions to get footage, but I was too tired to do that. But I was like, I guess I'll just figure out stuff and see who I bump into. And even just shooting you a text, I was like, man, I hope this dude is down to like just hang for a few minutes so I could get like a grip, because it's so overwhelming when you walk into the Javits Center
Oh
and
yeah.
it's everything at once. And then you're trying to be like, what is even what direction? And you go into any room and it's so packed and filled with crazy stuff. So, it was cool just hanging with you all weekend. Same here. You made it so much more comfortable. It was cool to have someone just to bounce everything off of and just kind of like, I guess not necessarily rely on, but just know like, okay, cool. No matter what, we're going to be kicking it and I'm going to have a buddy to
Yeah.
share cool things with. But it was absolutely 20 times better than I expected. So
Yeah.
thanks for hanging all week and then jumping on the show even better to wrap up our weekend of New York Comic Con. But before we dive into that, you write a kick-ass book called Superguy, and it's your first book. You're working on another issue right now. Tell us all about the story in general. Like, where did this come from? What were your intentions with Superguy? Because you're such a big superhero fan. How did you try to figure out a way to, create a superhero in a sense, and really just bring that world to life?
Sure. So, I got my first opportunity to write a comic for the Unknown Heroes Anthology Volume 2. And the whole thing with that comic was you had to write a 10-page story based on the idea of a superhero team up. That was the only criteria: 10 pages, superhero team up. So I jotted down a few ideas, but first and foremost, and this is so basic, but comics is a visual medium. I could have amazing story ideas, but if there's not an artist that can make that come to life, then it's just a story idea. It's not a comic. So I picked my artist first, which was a friend of a friend, Joey Murphy. We became friends through this project. Like, I love that dude. But I wanted to make something that matched his style, that fit that criteria. So I sent him a few ideas and he immediately landed on Superguy. Like, that was the one I wanted him to pick, and that's the one he picked. So we did a 10-page story. The idea being, we have a lazy superhero. I was tired of evil Superman, although I do still I like evil Superman stories, but it has been a little overplayed. But we haven't seen lazy Superman, right? So I figured, what if I had Superman's powers, right? Like, I don't have like this deep, overbearing responsibility to like save or help people. I'm just some random dude, and I could be lazy sometimes, right? So I figure, what if a superhero was like that, just like a dude that was lazy, didn't really want to do anything. He had all this great power, but no responsibility. And what if he found a robot to do all the work that he should be doing? And the story kind of blossomed from there. I feel like there's so much to mine out of just that idea of a lazy superhero, but having him have this conflicted robot sidekick really helps fuel every idea for this series.
I love that. It's so much fun. It's fun, like, honestly, like, having more comedic comics out there too. And I'm guilty of this myself. Teenage Babylon and Fake Your Death are very like serious stories. There's comedic bits, but like it's really depressing writing them. And I have to get like in a headspace to like get into those stories. Which is why I made like the High Adventures of Weed Wizard and Bong Boy, because I was like, I need something to make me laugh. Like I just need
Yeah.
something to shift gears. And your book kind of covers all that too, which it has a certain tone that's reflective for sure. In terms of just being a person, just general like human, like, just wanting to relax and just do nothing and just enjoy life for what it is. But also it just has the comedic aspect to it that's just so much fun as well. So, as a big comic book fan, clearly the bookshelf behind you, and because your podcast, and we'll dive into that in a moment too. What were the kind of key things that you were pulling from aside from like a Superman esque type of character? Like what, as a, I dove really into like Grant Morrison and some of that weird, like magic-y type of comic book writing. What really like appealed to you as a writer to kind of dive in and try this yourself?
Great question. Like I started off when I was younger, I would write like short stories that I would show nobody. Like I realized I wrote stories and no one saw them besides me, and I didn't even want to. I just kind of wrote them for fun and figured no one would care anyway. But as I got older, in college, I decided to get a creative writing degree. No one should do that. That's a bad idea. You're not really going to get a job off of it, and
Very
I
true.
learned some things, but um, the point is like I just started to take writing a little more seriously because it was like what I was, expecting. Like this is going to be the future of it. It's what I wanted to make a career out of, right? Like I enjoyed it, and I wanted to do it professionally. Um, I did some screenwriting as well. So I did like prose screenwriting, sketch comedy, even stand-up comedy. I've tried to write in a lot of different mediums. But always being a comic fan, I was kind of mystified by how a comic was even made. Like, with a movie, I could find like a very generic format for a script, and that could teach me how to write at least a basic script and at least start from there. Whereas comics, every time in the past, I would try to look for like, how do I write a comic script? Like, there's no straightforward answer, right? You kind of have to like find it in the back of certain editions where you get like script samples. But then when you start to see more and more of them, you realize like every comic writer kind of does it differently. So once, not to say I cracked the code, but once I understood that a little more, I felt a little braver about trying to write a comic. And then having this anthology opportunity was like, all right, this is going to be me giving it like the real college try, like let me actually try. I have a reason to write a comic script, I feel
Uh-huh.
like as a writer, you could write a lot of things, but you really have no way to put it out there. Like especially if you're not published, no one knows you. But with comics, it's just budget wise and I don't know, it's just more attainable, I guess. It's hard to do. Like me putting out one issue is already, I'm surprised. Like I was surprised by how much harder it was than I anticipated for like reasons I didn't know, reasons people told me would be hard. Um, but I'm just like a writer at heart. So any writing challenge, like I want to step up to. So this definitely was, but I love it so much. And now I just want to keep doing more.
I love that too. I majored in creative writing as well, and I had the
Nice.
same kind of vibe when I came out of it. I was like, no one should do this. And you have student loans, and now I'm just like, who's more responsible, me or the person who gave me 60K to become a poet? Like, who took the real gamble on this? But saying that though, like I also, it's kind of a tug and war. Like I mean, especially the way the world is now today, where like I wanna be a better artist. It'd be r and I think if I would've gone to art sooner, I would've gone to school for art instead of creative writing, because I feel like I would've figured out the creative writing aspect. However, I do, just like you were saying, like, I feel like my creative writing degree gave me challenges, and it made me write things and approach things I don't think I would've done, like, otherwise or as well without that discipline of that. No
Good point.
matter
I
how
agree. Yeah.
many Yeah, like, no matter how many craft books we read, one I highly recommend to any aspiring writer is Invisible Ink by Brian McDonald. That is
Mm.
the best simplest craft book you will ever get, and you will become a 20 times better writer after reading that and checking out, check out Brian McDonald's podcast and everything. He has a new one. It used to be called You Are a Storyteller, and now he brought it back with a new show. And I highly recommend all those conversations. It's a big inspo on me. It's a big reason why this show exists is because of Brian McDonald and that inspo, what he was doing, talking about craft and talking about certain subjects of craft. So if you want to nerd out 100%, yeah, I think you especially, Anthony, will love it, but our
Yeah.
audience in general would love it as well. But it's that degree, I just feel like I hate that I got it because I spent so much money, but it gave me opportunities. Do you think Superguy would even exist without that college degree? Or do you think it would have taken longer to get to and become a reality?
Uh, no, I don't think like I said, I've been a writer at heart for such a long time, like I'm just always trying to create something. Like when I was younger, I made like a movie and put it on YouTube, like when I was like 12 years old. Um, like I've just always been creating stories and writing. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, going to college and being in specific writing courses helped me like fine tune things. And like I've read tons of books like on writing, on screenwriting, and like, yeah, those things are helpful, and I can't discount like the effect they've had on my own writing and the quality of my writing. But I think more importantly, like you were saying, like in college, like I wrote poetry and nonfiction that I really don't do now. Like I still don't write poetry. It's not really my thing at all. I totally respect anyone that could, but that's like the one thing in writing that like mystifies me. Like, like, and I would have never tried if not for a college course. So yeah, to that point, yeah. But I don't think you need a college writing course to write a comic or to write anything really. I think you just need like experience and craft.
Yeah, no, 100%. As long as you take your blueprint out, and it's weird how people think that art and any of the arts almost the people feel like, oh, I don't got to do it the proper way, but it's like you wouldn't do that if you're building a house. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like you would use a blueprint for a house. You would
Yeah,
make sure you're
yeah.
doing it step by step perfectly, and you kind of want to take writing a story or drawing a book or any of that type of writing a song. You kind of want your blueprint and your craft in place so that you could do it well and in a certain structure. Those structures are there because they're proven works.
Yeah,
Um, and you could bend stuff around, you can mess with it. It doesn't have to be essentially perfect every time, especially in the indie realm. But knowing your craft, that's going to make it tangible and real and actually something that's a better product pretty much that you're giving to your audience. Um,
definitely.
and and honestly, doing your well, this comment that just came up talking about the Will Eisner book, the Denny O'Neil DC Comics Guide, and then the Alan Moore one, all those really great books as well.
Yeah.
Really great craft books. I have a list of craft books I should probably share, maybe in a reel or something. Maybe I could collaborate with
Ooh,
you on
that's a
that.
great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the favorite ones, because I don't think like what you were just looking up, the Brian McDonald one. I don't think a lot of people know about it,
Yeah, I haven't
but
heard of that one. Yeah.
it's gives you the most simplified way to break down your stuff. But in general, so your schooling got you to a certain place, and I get how that's very important. And so coming out of school, when did comics really take shape for you? When did you get that opportunity? Because I even feel like finding an artist and trying to figure out how to even get a book made from printing to lettering, all that type of stuff. How did you go approach that after?
Yeah, I mean, so that's only me writing this comic is only the last few years, it's so new to me. But luckily I've always, for the since like the when Twitter first started, like a decade or more ago, that's when I started to get more into the comic book community and realize like how much goes into a comic, all the different roles, just how passionate people were about it. Like I would read them, buy them from like Barnes and Noble, and like maybe talk to one or two of my friends that just so happened to read them. But I didn't realize how many people out there like really loved this stuff and loved it even way more than me. Like I was just so shocked that like comics were that deep, right? So I just got deeper and deeper into them. And so maybe back in 2021, definitely because of the pandemic, me and my friends Cody and Jake started the podcast Comics and Chronic, and that had me approaching comics again, but in a different way, talking to creators a lot and like getting really inspired by them. from professionals to people with Kickstarters like I just did, making comics and making it a reality. And the thing with me as a writer has always been like, I just want that opportunity to make something. Like I've done like sketch comedy on YouTube because I've always wanted to be a filmmaker as well, but like that costs money and it's hard, and it's hard to get a crew together. Like just my experience doing sketch comedy with my friends, like it was hard. It was hard. And comics just like inspired me in a way that's like I could work with maybe just a couple more people. It's a smaller group. I mean, like, when you're really into it, you could have a whole team, working on a comic. But for me, it was just Joey Murphy, the artist of Superguy. He letters it, he inks it, pencils it, does the cover. He does everything. I just write the script. And I almost feel like, well, first of all, Superguy doesn't feel real without Joey's art, right? So like it's something about his art that really made it come to life for me. And helped me like approach the characters. It just made everything feel real. I don't know, like I've written short stories and like tons of stuff that had no visual element. So it's hard to, have it feel tangible, I guess. I've never published a book. But there's like just something about comics that's like right there. And like, if I want to print, now the comic that I've had completed, I could just print it now, a Comix Wellspring, and just have that, whenever I want, like for the rest of my life, or however long the website exists and the internet exists and we could access it. Like I could print more copies of this thing I made and it's real, and I could give it to people or sell it to people. And I've never been able to do that in any other medium, like through my writing. I don't know. There's something like really cool about comics that just feels more accessible.
Yeah, same track with me. I was trying to figure out, I was either going to go down prose, film, or comics, whichever one took off first. I was like, that's the one I want to do. And film seemed like it was tangible, but then the like you said, the work involved, the amount of people you got to get involved, and then locations and figuring stuff out and timing and seeing if that schedule works for everybody. And then
Yeah.
some people do need to get paid, and some people like are okay with just like working stuff out. There's a bigger complexity of that. It's easier to start a band almost than to shoot a film, and comics, it was, especially being a musician previously, it's kind of like going on tour but without your whole band. And so it is
Mm.
a bit more accessible. You just need to find that artist. And I think once you kind of figure out what you're looking, you had a really strong idea of what you were looking for, which is
Yeah.
kind of hard for a lot of writers to understand right out of the gate. But then you're trying to just shoot your shot in the dark and you're just like, anybody please draw this for me. But I like your approach on that. Having stories and then seeing what resonated with the artist the most. That's how I approached Nick for the
Yeah.
first Teenage Babylon short in our punk anthology. And I've never done it with any other artist, but it's one of those things where like I think that might be the best. It really is the best way, is finding an artist and then kind of working with them and building out from there, because then your relationship starts from that. And you're not just doing a transactional type of, oh, you're going to draw the script and, have some say in it, but like finding something that works for them and gets them excited. And you're kind of just trying to like, we all kind of cater to our artists essentially because we can't draw. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the main part.
But they're so important. And it like,
Mhm.
for me, it would, it would be ridiculous, for instance, if there was an artist that wanted me to write something for them, but they wanted to write like a Korean drama. Like, not me. I'm not going to be able to do that for you.
Yeah.
My style is not going to work with that. So like, why would I pick an artist? Like Joey, if he couldn't do but the thing about Joey too is he's so adaptable, right? Like this is his first comic as well. And, like the other day, he's been working on the pages for Superguy too, like nonstop. And the other day, like for a few days, I wasn't hearing from him. And then he's like, sorry, I had to teach myself perspective to do like this panel, to do like this one panel. Like he's that kind of guy. Like, he only levels up with every page. And then like, since the one shot to now, like, I'm so proud of the guy, like this is new for me. This is new for him. And like us working and growing together is such a cool experience. Like I have never had that with any other project, like it's just so fun.
I love that. Yeah. You want to create that relationship. That's the best thing. And if you're challenging each other and pushing each other and you're both, receptive to that too, I guess that's an
Yeah.
important thing as well.
Yeah.
Some people aren't, but if you are receptive to that, I guarantee it makes the entire partnership just so much better. And then also the podcast, that's like some of the
Absolutely.
coolest things. I I started Apollo City Comics as a podcast to try to break into the industry. That was my intentions. So hearing you even start with that is also like very resonating and whatnot. Because did you think that that would make you? What was your intention with starting a podcast to get into comics? And do you also feel like comics and chronic, like also maybe kind of made it difficult for you to break into certain barriers within comics too?
Ooh, like, so, okay, Comics and Chronic was not my idea. It's my friend Jake's, my co-host, right? He came up with the name, he came up with the concept. He
Mm,
came to me and Cody. He's like, I want you guys to do this with me. And again, this is like pandemic era where we're like, we're still like kind of locked down. So like we're inside a lot, we're not working, like perfect opportunity to just work on a project like this together. And I was like, okay. I was a little hesitant at first because I was never so open about my weed smoking. I was like, this is me crossing a threshold. Like once I'm doing this, then everyone's gonna know. Like I can't hide that fact. I can't be silly. Like I can't be silly. I can't be like secret about it anymore. Like I
sure.
just have to be super open that I'm a pothead, and I love smoking. And it's just what I do. Um, and that was, I think, the biggest challenge, just that, right? Like once I got over that, okay, that's fun. Let's do this. Let's talk comics. And there's no intention other than the three of us trying to stay sane, reconnecting as friends, getting to talk every week, every day, because we're texting, we're thinking of new episodes. That's all it was. It was just pure happiness. But then like one day we got a tweet from Josie Reisman where she wants to promote her book about Stan Lee, right? So I just took a shot and I was like, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about that. And she was like, hell yeah, why not? And we did an interview with her. It was our first one, and we're just kind of nervous about it. And we did it, and it was like, oh, that's fun. And she was basically telling us, like the comic world, a lot of people are, more accessible to contact, and they like to do interviews and promote their books. It's like, don't let that hold you guys back. Like you reached out to me, try reaching out if you want to talk to these people, these creators, and you could probably get like a lot of guests on your podcast. Like I just had to learn all that, like I'm no intention of ever being a podcaster. Uh, and it's just like a hobby of mine, right? Like I'm a writer first and foremost, but it's all for fun. But once we started talking to more creators, it's kind of like like a high and like a separate high almost, right? Like, we have good conversations, like we're having fun moments. We get to talk to people like we deeply respect and like read their books. And to this day, I love doing that. It's really fun. But I think having that kind of presence in the comic book world definitely allowed me to meet so many people. Like at the same time, I'm always been like trying to like, have a following in the comic book community, have an audience for really no reason. I wasn't making comics. I had like no intention to like sell or make comics. I just love the community that much. I just liked meeting people, and I made a ton of friends, met tons of cool people, and like we have the same deep, passion for this hobby, for this genre. So like it's easy to get along with so many people. Like I get to meet people like you. I get to do podcast. Like it's just there was no like, yes, this is what I want to and need to do. It just kind of became this. And that just kind of led to me like, fuck it, I want to try to make a comic now. Like, not that everyone made it seem easy by any means, but I've read so many comics, and I've read really bad comics. I was like, if that person could have the confidence to put this out and people read it and buy it, and it's that, like, hey, that's, I could really try this, like why not? But that's, I don't have a specific reason why I wanted to. It just felt like, I don't know. Once I got the opportunity for the anthology again, it gave me the excuse to like, all right, let's pull the trigger.
Yeah, and what's super interesting about you too, and discovering that this weekend as well. You're a collector for sure. Look at that. Look at those bookcases, dude. Like you are a collector, but you're not like you're collecting in it. I would collect books like mad crazy, where I've bookshelves all around me back here.
Yeah.
But I was also really into getting like signatures and sketches. And at one point, I would just CGC some stuff just to encapsulate it so it doesn't get damaged and whatnot. And I was leaning towards that realm of collecting. You're not really into getting signatures and like doing all that. You're down to and love meeting creators, and you've we did that a few times this weekend too.
Yeah.
But you're not driven by that, oh, I need to get this book signed type of collecting. So what disinterests you about that? Just out of curiosity, because it's so interesting hearing like someone who's such a big fan who's not so part of that scene, but part of the collecting scene too.
Yeah, I mean, because I like reading the books, right? Like if I put them in a slab, I'm not able to read them. A signature, I don't know, like if I'm talking to the person and I'm buying their book and they're like, "Hey, you want me to sign it?" Yeah, hell yeah, why not? Like you should be proud of your work. I'm happy to meet you. Like, but like as a like to make something valuable, it doesn't really increase, it kind of decreases the value for me in a way, because it's like I like to keep my books in like good condition. They don't need to be mint, but don't get me wrong, like
Yeah.
I don't want to mess them up and bend the covers and fuck up the pages. But like collecting for me is like kind of like just an obsessive thing. Like I have like this whole shelf of Spider-Man up here, and if I like start from this book and go all the way to like the end, like I could read an entire like decades and decades worth of like one character, and there's like some weird nerdy thrill for me to like be able to like uh not to get like so corny and be like so basic, but like I've seen this TikTok a bunch of times. There's like a Japanese word for something where like your collection is more like a wine collection. Like, I feel like having this right now, this bottle, this vintage, I don't want, like it's not like, aha, I must have them all. It's like, I just want to be able to like, oh yeah, I have that story. I want to read this tonight, or I want to read this morning, because sometimes I could sit down and read a comic. It's not going to take me like all day, like I could revisit stories so easily. 6 issues is nothing, give me an hour, give me less, and like I could read, you know uh so collecting for me is just being able to have like these things at my fingertips. Like, yeah, there's digital comics, but I don't know, I love physical media. When I was younger, I would collect DVDs instead. Like I used to have all DVDs, but now it's like comics. Like I just always have to collect something. There's something wrong with my brain, but
No, I mean I think that really shows, because especially once you start creating that aspect, especially, I mean, for me personally, that aspect of collecting kind of just died, because I kind of realized, there's a lot of negativity when it comes down to getting signatures and to slabbing and all that stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
I wouldn't ever even think about slabbing certain books or anything anymore. Or,
Mhm.
or even just standing in line for hours for an autograph and just running around like that grind I did. You kind of realize what comics are for and what their intention is. And when you're more into the story than anything, you're really the true fan there. I feel like it's one thing to like want to meet your heroes. I mean, we had a kick-ass conversation with Donny Cates this weekend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was rad. That was a fucking cool moment. But that was so much more sincere than I feel like if I would have come up to him and been like, "Oh, I mean, I have a couple books I definitely want to get signed because I'm a fucking fanboy." But like just chasing that and just going up there solely for that purpose. We saw him and then we were just like, "Oh, dude, let's give him some of our books." Like, fuck, that's cool. And we talk
Yeah.
about our stuff, and sometimes that's a better interaction when you want to meet your heroes as a creator. Like, brag about your stuff, like talk about what you're doing, because these bigger creators are going to be interested in that. Do you feel like, the con itself, I don't want to dive in there too fast before we wrap up your podcast
No, it's
talk,
all
but
good.
like, do you feel that when you're giving out your book and you're giving it to bigger creators, quote unquote, that they had a more positive reaction than negative to you giving them a book for them to check out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure so many people there are doing this. A lot of them were like grateful, or like the honor was theirs.
Yeah.
There's a move a lot of people do, like, "Hey, can I give you my book?" And then the creator will say, "Sure, but only if you sign it." Like
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they kind of give you that little moment, which
Yeah.
is always cool. It's fun. But yeah, it seemed like it's more like, because I guess if being in their shoes, right? A fan comes up to you, they're so inspired by you, or they respect you so much, they want you to read their comic. Whether or not you have the time is a different story. It's just more like saying, "Hey, I admire you so much that here's a copy of mine, because like if you read it, that would mean so much to me."
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and we mean a lot of creators are very sincere that the fans mean a lot to them, the good fans, not the people that are assholes online and all that stuff. But like, there's a reason they're at these cons. People love them, and like, yeah, I'm not a really social person, but like in these situations, like, meeting the fans probably energizes a lot of people.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it was mean, Donnie was a great example, dude. Him reading Teenage Babylon and broadcast there, like in front of us, and his reaction was like, "Dude, oh crap, thank you!" Like I wanted to
Yeah.
cry, and then like I was buzzing, and you were like, "Dude, that was dope," and I was like,
Yeah.
"I can't even fathom what just happened."
I was like,
And
everything he was saying would be a dope pull quote.
yes, yeah. So I'm definitely going to try to connect with him at Baltimore. So I think we're going to try to make that happen for Teenage. I
Nice.
think that'd be sick. But aside from that, your show as well, you're like on how many episodes now? You have reached
Like,
Apollo got to like 160 something, even with doing a weekly episodes, sometimes twice a week. And that's been going on since 2018. We've stopped the last 2 years or so, probably in the 70s or something. But I think you're close to like 300 or something.
yeah,
now,
we're
aren't you?
over 300. We're about to hit our 5th year in January. Yeah.
Man, how you said you weren't really intentionally wanting to be a podcaster, and now look at us, we're both fucking podcasters.
Yeah.
But how do you feel like stepping into those shoes, and how do you feel like podcasting has helped you one be a better communicator and also interviewer in general? You know, what do you kind of look for inspo to build those skills more for your show?
Yeah, I had to learn all that stuff, like I went to college for film for a little bit before creative writing. So like I know how to edit, right? And I've edited audio before, and done film editing, but not as deep as I needed to for the podcast, like, doing audio edits. So I had to learn that a little bit more, learned how to get faster and better at that. Um, Interviewing, completely new skill that I needed. Like I'm not, again, the most social outgoing person in the first place. Like I've tried stand-up comedy and that helped me break out of my shell in a big way. And like being on a podcast every week, like, yeah, definitely helped open me up even more. It was something I felt like I wasn't great at first. And I still don't feel great at it now, but I've definitely gotten better, more comfortable behind a microphone, being on camera. Uh, it was all a challenge, and I still find it as a challenge. I still get nervous no matter who like I'm really interviewing. It's just I have that kind of energy. But it's always fun, if it's not fun, if it starts to not be fun, then I don't want to do it anymore. We've been doing it for a long time. I don't know how long we plan on going. But I don't know. I feel like it's just, again, opened up the comic book world for me too. Like getting to talk to creators, getting inside their heads, just making friends with people across the spectrum, of comics. Uh, I don't know. It's been a fun time, uh, but it's not like what I want to do, for the rest of my life. I don't want to always podcast. I have to edit the podcast too, so like every week I have to make sure we have an episode out. I had to teach myself
That's
Photoshop too, to
why I
do
do
the
it live now.
yeah,
Not
no, see, I
editing.
couldn't handle live. I can't. We've tried it a few times. I can't do it. Um, but I had to, also learn Photoshop to make all the posters for every episode.
Mhm.
Then I just started making everything with like joints and smoke and red eyes, and that kind of just became a gimmick. Because some people see me as that guy, right? They're like, you went from making those to writing a comic. It's like, no, I've always been a writer. Podcasting and doing silly stuff like that just is like fun times on the internet, but like writing is where it's at.
Do you feel like maybe because of your show, you would have gone in the direction of a stoner comic more for Superguy versus what it turned out to be? Or were you really trying to make it stand out different from the show because of that concept?
I wasn't like purposely trying to do that. I think being a stoner is just one aspect of who I am, and like and also like, yeah, it's a comedy, but I could write other things. I love sci-fi, like dark sci-fi and horror. Like that stuff is great. And I have stories like that. I'm gonna do a zombie story soon in an anthology. So there's definitely different facets of me, right? Like I don't think everything like comics and chronic is where I get to be like, hey, yeah, I'm a stoner, right? And part of that also is like what made me feel confident about doing it is like I hope I could like um put on an image for people where like this what you think a stoner is not what you think it is. You know this. You obviously know this, and a lot of people understand this. Like being a stoner doesn't make you lazy, right? It doesn't make you like demotivated. It doesn't make you all these like we're not taught hey, I took an edible before this. I'm fine. We're talking. We're having a normal conversation. like it's I think some people are turned off by that and turned off by the podcast. Like, well, if I'm not a stoner, I can't listen to you guys talk about comics. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you don't need to be. It's just kind of like a lifestyle. Like, and it's just almost like a signal. Like, hey, I'm gonna be a little silly. I'm gonna be you know I'm not like straight edge is the wrong word, but like like I feel like straight laced. I'm not straight laced. This is a different kind of comedy. It's not like, because comedy is like deeply missing in comics. Part of Superguy is like, what isn't on my shelf, right? Like I feel like that comic isn't. There's examples, right? Like the Tick is there, but the Tick hasn't been around in a long time. And if that's really the few examples we have of in comics of like funny heroes, like there's way more room. There's way, am I saying the right thing? There's more room for funny comics out there. Like there's some good ones, but I think they're way too few and far between.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I think that's why it's kind of important to stray back into that too. They're called funny books for a reason at a certain extent, like and going back to those roots. We was in a bong boy, that was a big intent. Going back to roots, putting comics back in head shops, putting them, in dispensaries now and everything. And I that was a big thing about me starting to make comics too, was that I had these series online, and it seemed like We Was in Bong Boy was gonna be the first one that came out, and I was kind of scared for that because I didn't want to be known for like the stoner story right out of the gate and have that be a big part right out. And like, even when I promote stuff, especially this year, we've had more stoner stuff with Apollo, so I've been pushing that a lot more. But it is kind of weird having to like, there was moments on the show where I'm like, should I even be promoting like this aspect of my storytelling and like out in the CWS universe and our watchers and listeners and whatnot? But it's all indie work, you know what I mean? I just want to be open for how fluid indie work can be out there too. But I love that, that aspect, it's just a part of it all. And it doesn't mean that everything captures that. But that is just a slice. And so as you add more things to your portfolio, essentially, it's going to be really cool seeing what else you cook up that blends into that. But
Thanks, man.
also, having that, that show that has that theme to it, you're also diving into a niche that you're probably getting more views and listeners than if you had just done a pure comic, centric show as well.
I think
do-
so. Yeah, I would
yeah,
agree with that.
you kind of get like that different market, and people will be searching for stuff, and they're going to come across that when they're looking for some sort of stoner show. So you're kind of, kind of like when we went to the cannabis festival, it gets you new people to put your stuff in front of, and you're exposing new people to comics. And as an interviewer, like how much do you prepare? I'm curious. Are you someone that writes down questions and gets everything down? Do you premeditate your conversations? What's your prep for doing interviews?
Yeah, I definitely do prep. I always make sure, like, first and foremost, I'm not only gonna read the comic you have out. I mean, unless that's the only one you have out, that's fine. But then I'll try to read some of your older stuff. Like more than likely, I already have read it, but I always want to refresh my memory. I've read so many comics, like it's easy to forget like small details. But I always prep. I always try to think of like, what could I ask them that no one else is asking them? Is it possible? Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like sometimes maybe it's too silly. I feel like some people don't like the silliness of it all. Like they just want a very serious comics conversation. And I guess like we could do that. Like again, we want to be a little different, offer something like, again, like Superguy is offering comedy into comics in a way I'm not really seeing. I feel like comic book podcasts definitely don't have, there's no other stoner comic book podcast, like it doesn't exist. So like I want to always try to offer something a little bit more laid back, a little bit more loose, a little bit more fun. And that's always been how I approach it, or how I approach interviews. But like, there's a lot of creators I deeply respect, right? So I want to also come from that angle. And as I'm now starting to be an up and comer, I don't want to like step on anyone's toes or like, smack talk anyone inadvertently or, even on purpose, like even for the sake of having fun. So I just try to approach things like with that balancing act. But yeah, I always prepare. I'd be way too stressed if I'm just like, let's just dive into this,
I think that's what trips people out the most. I just dive into interviews. I'm just like, all
Nice.
right, let's just pitch this out and see how it goes. And I think it's just because I think I've done it so often. That's just the only way I know how to function to an extent, is a fuck it, we'll do it live type of thing. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
this is what's gonna happen. But it always seems to turn out pretty well. I guess I'm decent at thinking on my feet with talking to a certain extent.
No, you need
But
that too, especially for a podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it can because I try not to give myself parameters and restrictions, and that's just the way my brain works. Everyone's different. I'm not telling anyone to take my advice here, but like I just feel like when I have premeditated questions, I keep on trying to go back to those questions instead of letting the conversation just take its natural flow of things. And that's where in my head, I'm like, I trying to like, did I get this? Am I doing all right? Cool. Trying to pay attention. Okay, did I get this question? How do I segue into this? And I've stumbled more than if I'm just like, all right, let's see what happens.
I respect it.
But this weekend too, New York Comic Con, first time we got to meet,
Yeah.
first time we got to hang out. We really were more acquaintances, I think through Eric Allred, more than anyone else
Yes.
within
Shout
our
out to
circle.
Eric. Yeah,
Yeah,
hell yeah.
shout out to Eric, our humble dude at Apollo that does so much and deals with me on a daily. So I love you, Eric. But dude, what were your any favorite moments on the con that you could spit out?
Um, okay, so I got to go to 2 really cool creator breakfasts. One was hosted by Scott Snyder, which was so awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Tell me about that one. That is that part of his Substack
yeah,
that he
so he
had
has the
going on?
Black Jacket Club, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if you pay for, like, his top tier, you get to do I think it's not at every con, but I think probably at San Diego, there was like,
Mhm.
a breakfast like this too. So yeah, you get to hang out with whoever else is in the club, and I actually knew a couple people in it, so that was cool. I got to hang out with them. Definitely that's what it more was, like, kind of like a mixer, and Scott was, like, the host and, like, going around to the table and talking to everyone, like, I definitely got to talk to him, but not, like, one-on-one. He was just kind of talking to you as, like, a smaller group.
Mhm.
But a really cool dude, like, a really genuine dude in
Yeah.
comics, he, like, is
He'll
telling you he's
recognize you. Like,
yeah, not only that, but he'll tell you he's not bullshitting you, and he's not bullshitting you. Like, he's really, like, straightforward about everything. Um, but the fact that he for that club, he, like, read Superguy means so much to me, and he told me he liked it, which is just like, hell yeah, that makes me feel more confident as a writer to hear Scott Snyder say that. I've never gotten his autograph, but him saying that is what means a lot to me.
oh yeah. I've always been curious about those. And it's funny. It's like a morning mixer. We went to a couple like events at night, and it's funny thinking of dude. You had a brutal. We stayed out like pretty late. What was it, Friday?
On
And then
Friday,
we
yeah.
jumped right back in for a different creator brunch or breakfast. Like at 8 or something. You were back
Yeah.
at the con. What was that one about? That was like a new breakfast thing that they were running this year, huh? Or somewhat new. I think it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, so it's run by Robert Wilson. He's been doing it, I guess, since maybe 2019 or
Mm.
maybe 2020. I'm not sure. But it's for new creators. It was a very small group, only 10 of us. There were writers, colorists, artists, people just in the comic book world. And as a guest, he had Heather Antos, um, who's awesome and gave a lot of great advice. Um, and it was just like, again, like, that was less of a mixer. That was more like a Q&A.
Mhm.
So I got to learn a lot more about pitching and how to do that a little better,
Ooh.
which is something that I need to work on and, like, need to try to do. I've just never tried to pitch anything, especially because, again, I only have one comic, but it might be something people want. I just really want to do the work first and foremost, and have a good comic and have something worth pitching before thinking like, I'm hot shit and then, never getting a response. Like, I just want to have something that other people want. Like, and I guess that was the coolest thing about the con, actually. Like, people actually recognizing me or recognizing Superguy. Like, if I
Happened a
handed it to
lot.
them,
Mhm.
people came up to me like, "Hey, Tony Nacho," like, yeah, like, that boggles my mind. I'm like, I really try to be humble, but that, like, that didn't make me feel humble for a second. Like, I'm just like, holy shit, I'm doing something right, like, um, and that made me feel really cool, like, these days I'm not really doing much, like, raising a 1-year-old, being married. Like I'm not going out too much, but like doing Comic-Con like makes me feel like so energized, and like I don't know, it makes me feel so cool, and like it made me so happy to see people I talk to online all the time. Um, and then like striking up a new friendship with you. Like this, we like you said, we know each other through Eric, but then we were on Blake's Buzz together, like got to
Yeah.
know each other a little bit more. And it was cool. Like like I wouldn't have hung out with you, like, if you or me were not getting good vibes with each other,
Yeah.
but we instantly hit it off, which I love, so thanks again, dude.
No, yeah, definitely. This was one of the first cons I've gone to like completely solo. Where I really like typically my girlfriend tags along, or I meet up with a group of creators or something. And so going in blind and being like, just hoping, we vibed for even a little bit. And then we literally hung out, all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the entire time from, once we got there till we left.
Yeah.
Dude, absolute blast. Then we got to meet like so many connections within each other too, which
Yes,
was a lot of
seriously.
fun. Chris Miskowitz and I got to introduce you to like Thomas Healy,
Yeah.
editor for Spawn and stuff like that. And there was just a lot of cool moments. I was like, and I always try to do that. If anyone ever hangs out with me at a con or is around me, I'll introduce you to anyone I know. But it was cool having someone just to like meet up with and kind of share some of that insight with, and both of us giving out books and both of us on the grind and kind of seeing
Yeah.
how each other work in that environment. It also let me know I was doing some stuff right too,
Yeah, true.
so that definitely one of my best parts of the con, hands down. Just all the friendships. I think if you're going to conventions, if you're giving out stuff to promote, if you're, trying to meet your heroes and everything, but like just go out there and have fun and network. Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to talk to people, because talking to people, or just when you're standing in line or standing around, you never know one who you'll be talking to.
Right. So
Or
true.
also who could just be a great friend afterwards. And so, when I go to New York in December, I'll be hitting you up to hang out and everything. And we'll
Hell
be
yeah.
on each other's shows and everything. But that's the cool part, like, that our community's just, like, doubled practically. Now we're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, one good friend can actually, like, make your whole entire thing." Our next Kickstarter should kick ass. We have a whole new circle. What else? Any other highlights that you have on top of your head?
Um, why am I, like, suddenly forgetting the entire weekend? Like
Yeah, it's a blur, dude. I think that's the thing too. Like a con after this, you're so. I mean, also I'm exhausted. I am dead today. I don't know how
Yeah.
tired you are, but this weekend that was a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Us-
The walking, like, the carrying all the comics. I'm like,
yeah, you're trying to get rid of stuff to empty your bag, but as
yeah.
you get rid of stuff, things are going back in there from other creators too, and you're just like, okay, this is heavier than when I got here now at this
Yeah.
point.
No, I got to meet a lot of creators. I got to meet up with a lot of friends. So I had a lot of good conversations about, the business, about just like comics in general. One thing that's like sticking in my mind, I talked to Mark Russell, who's one of my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
writers.
yeah.
He's done the Flintstones, Snagglepuss. Uh, and I was just like, like your writing like really inspires me, like you could write these like profound things, but then be really funny in like the same panel. And he's like, "Yeah, I think I just really know my voice." He's like, "You got to write in an A+ version of yourself instead of a D- version of someone else."
Mm,
And I thought that was
really
great
good
advice,
advice.
right?
Really good
And it
advice.
also like is a testament to how he always puts things just like so perfectly. Like that's all his writing. Like it's like sentences like that, like they stick with you, and right, like my
Uh-huh.
reaction was exactly the same.
You're
And like,
taking it in, you're like, fuck yes.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, that's such a great. It sounds so simple, but like it's so deep.
Yeah,
Uh,
no,
it just hit me,
seriously.
like he's just an inspiration. So like to hear that from him, that was so cool.
I mean, like Superman Space Age and Batman the
Yeah.
Dark Age, so good, dude. Like, I mean, the All Red's work on that makes it top tier, but
Yeah.
that writing and that story is so phenomenal. Yeah, Mark's a great guy. I don't think I've ever met him, but I admire a lot of his work in general.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, what else happened? The mixers we went to were pretty cool. We
Oh,
had
those were
that.
fun. Yeah.
I think it was one Thursday that we went. It was like at 8 or something in the
Oh
pro
yeah.
lounge area. That one was pretty cool. That was interesting. I think what's interesting is like going from fan, or I guess admirer, FOMO,
Yeah.
to like I wish I could go to these cons, to fan and attending them as a con, and then getting a pro badge later in your, creative years, and now having a pro badge, especially at New York Comic Con, coolest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, we were gods.
You get to go up like that exclusive escalator, and then you get
Yeah,
that pro lounge. That pro lounge, my favorite thing
so
in the
nice.
universe. It is
Yeah,
just, dude, it saved. I think it saved all of us. Like, one, you have cleaner bathrooms.
yeah,
Two, it's quiet and there's air conditioning and like
yeah.
cushioned seats that you could enjoy, or just like, and there's tables where you can have meetings and everything. And so we were there a lot. It was a perfect touchstone meeting place to like kind of calm down and cool down, but also like recharge yourself and your cell phone, your devices and everything.
Yeah.
But that pro area, top tier, one of my
I
favorite
love that
spots.
place, and you would always run into someone you knew there, or
Mhm.
you could just see professionals there, walking
Yeah,
left and right doing interviews. Saturday, I saw Todd McFarlane
yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Yesterday, I saw R.L. Stein. He just walked by me.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
I was like,
rad.
"That's
Holy
R.L.
crap.
Stein." I saw Paul Giamatti there.
That's right.
Um
Yeah, we saw him.
but those are the things I don't go to Comic-Con seeking out. Like, if it
Mhm.
happens, awesome, cool, I'm telling you about it, even if it's the smallest, like, interaction of all time. But, like, I'm not going there to stand in, like, a 2-hour line to, like, get a really expensive picture with a celebrity. If that's your shtick, cool, enjoy
Mhm.
it, that's fine, please don't stop. It's not for me at all, I don't like it. So to just be able to, like, brush shoulders with people like that, is always fun.
Yeah, to be in the same room with them and just like, "Oh, cool, we all got the same badge." That's pretty sick. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the funniest story, I hadn't been there since 2017. I told you this at the con, but that pro area, my favorite moment I've ever had up there, I was in the bathroom. I was taking a piss, and all of a sudden, all these big bodyguards came into the bathroom, and I
Oh,
was like,
shit.
"Okay, this is awkward. This is what's going on here." And then these two dudes come up against the wall and they start peeing, and I'm like, "All right, cool." I finished and I go wash my hands, and then I forget the dude's name, but like the taller dude and Will I Am from Black Eyed Peas go and start washing their hands next to me, and like I took a piss next to the Black Eyed Peas, and I was like, "This is the brewery at Newark Comic Con, all right." Like it's one of the coolest things ever. But yeah, I mean, seeing Todd and then getting to hang out with like Brad and Lisa for comic books couple counseling, some great friends of ours.
Shout out.
Yeah, definitely shout out. Brad and Lisa are awesome. Go check out comic book couples counseling if you haven't. Well, I'm sure maybe we could both be on their show at the same time. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
They've been trying to get me on their show for a while, and vice versa. It was just timing and whatnot. But great people. I love bumping
Yeah.
into them every con, and they had a great panel too. We got to
Yeah.
see a podcasting panel with them,
That was fun.
Livian Bar, Shortbox, and
Off panel.
off panel. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Dude, I have all these cards right here. I gotta follow up with all them.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that panel was a lot of fun too. It was a great recharge time. We got to hang out with RD Murphy, great dude. I had some great conversations with Thomas Healy, and Jeff Monk. Even that last time we hung out, that was rad. I love
Nice.
Thomas. We'll get him back on the show soon. Um, I talked to Joe Quesada. Never met him before. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Um, and lined up some guests for the shows. I just spill it here, but like Jim Rugg wants to come on, Tom Scully, the Ink Pulp guys want to come back on.
Oh, nice.
Thomas Healy wants to come back on the show, and Dave Baker as well. We got him. We're lining up dates for him as well for Spilled Ink and this. So I think just like the networking part. Oh, Jesse Lonergan, we're working to get him on too.
Oh, hell
Great dude.
yeah.
Yeah, great
I
dude.
read Drome today. Like, I was like,
Oh,
"You know
really?
what?" Like, that it was just, like, calling to me. I was like, "I need to read this." It was amazing, dude.
Oh, can't wait to read it. I'm so hyped. That was my own dude. First con. I mean, I was so many people give us books, which is thank you all for giving us a copy of anything you've made. We really appreciate it. But like that was the only thing I bought all weekend, and I think that's
Oh,
a
wow.
first for me at a con. Typically, I'm resisting to buy stuff, but this one I was like, I really just want Jesse's book, and that was about it. So I got Drome. That was my one buy. Um, did you get anything special on your end?
Man, I bought so many books. I posted something this morning, but I got so many books. I mean, special. I mean, I just like, getting to buy a book directly from a creator is pretty cool, because I know it's going right in their pocket, or I hope it is, especially when I hand them, cash. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm giving you this money for this book. That always feels pretty cool, like, again, I don't really care about the signature, but it's almost like just the moment. It's just like cool, I get to share that with this person that I respect. Um, like there were a lot of moments where like, you know, you introduced me to people I would have never met otherwise, you know, getting to go to these mixers. I would have never met these people otherwise.
Oh, the Global Comics Party mixer too. Actually, they got that really cool
Yeah,
mug
yeah.
from it.
Oh
A lot of
yeah, hell
fun.
yeah. I have that. I
Yeah.
got that too. Yeah. I really got to shout out my friend Omar Morales. He has a comic, Major Tomas. You can get it on Amazon Comixology. But he really introduced me to a lot of people when we hung out. Really cool dude. Just gave me a lot of good tips and advice. He's a good guy, and like, you know, he's making good comics. So I'm just lucky to know and getting to know more people like that, you know. Again, we have a great community, and there's a lot of people that really want to support you, you know. Oh, Oscar Rosario too.
Hmm.
I talked to him at the Scott Snyder breakfast. He was
Oh,
really cool, gave
dude,
me a lot of great
Oscar,
advice. Yeah.
he's the coolest dude ever. Was his mom with
Yes.
him? She's so sweet. He's like the sweetest lady ever.
No, he
Oh,
was
she's
by
like,
himself.
oh, typically when I saw him on the floor, I think outside of the panel we saw with the podcasting, um, I was talking to him for a minute, and he's just the coolest guy ever. He's
He
just,
really is.
yeah, really genuine, and he's making some moves too. A lot of
Yeah.
good publishing stuff coming out.
Yeah. Like he's making comics in Peru, which I thought
Mhm.
was really cool.
Yeah.
He was just explaining everything to me and like just genuinely good advice, like and uplifting advice, you know, like
Mhm.
just kind of also mimicking like Scott Snyder, you know, gives good advice. He doesn't like try to be like, you know, don't try to make comics, you know, it's too hard. Some creators will say shit like that, you know? Like it's like he's just really inspiring, like just a lot of inspiration this weekend. No doubt I want to go out there and make more comics after this weekend. Like it's always fun to like, you know, meet new people and have these experiences. But when it comes down to it, like I'm not there if I didn't make Superguy, you know? So like I need to
Mhm.
make more and more than that. So it's definitely I have so much creative fuel out of this, you know, after the exhaustion kind of wears off, it's back to business.
That's exactly how I feel. I think once, you get a couple more good nights sleep, you're just like, "Okay, cool. I can do this. Like, I can survive."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, honestly, the buzz you get post-con, like, it's always good to ride that wave, and I see why creators will try to I see, but I don't agree. Why creators will try to fend people off. I'm like, comics are hard. Jack Kirby said they'll break your heart, but and it's very true. Comics are so hard. I'm so tired.
They are.
It's exhausting. It feels impossible, but it's also the greatest reward ever. And it's like, what amazing thing out there is easily obtained, and comics certainly
Mm,
are. And literally it takes a village, it's kind of one of those things, like, and that's why we do crowdfunding, and that's why we do these shows, and that's why we
yeah.
try to share all of our secrets and techniques, and we try to do live stuff like this so people could pick our brains and ask questions, or also just let us know, like, one, we're all feeling the same, and how can we get better, and just supporting each other and pushing each other on. Without that community and that whole aspect, it can feel impossible, and it can seem really, like, kind of unfair in a sense. But you just got to roll with the punches, and you just got to continue doing it. And the more you do, the better and easy. Well, I'm not gonna say easier. The better it'll be, and it'll just maybe seem easier because you'll just be learning lessons over and over and over. Um, but with that being said, you have Super Guy number 2 in the works right now. Any other projects or ideas you're trying to get off the ground as well?
So yeah, Superguy number 2 is in pre-launch on Kickstarter, hopefully coming out early 2026. Uh, Zombie anthology, that
Mhm.
story's in the works. Uh, but other than that, like I don't really have I know I shouldn't like put all my eggs in the Superguy basket, you know, like I need to be versatile and do more things. It just becomes like a money issue, right? Like so like if I want to make more comics, I need to pay more artists. Um so I need to figure out how to do more of that. But again, going back to like great advice I heard over this weekend, um, I I think there's ways to like, you know, make shorter comics. And that's something I think you even told me too. Those easier to get made, less money, but still, you know, proof of concept or just showing the same thing in just less pages, you know, like just a tighter pitch with more to come. So like things like that I need to focus on more. Like I learned a lot this weekend, like genuinely. So I need to put what I learned to good use and do more. Like just I think the you know, it's always the basic advice you get, but it's so realistic and you have to, is just, okay, make more comics. You made a comic, now make more comics, then make more comics. Like, it's all you could really do. If you want to make comics, it's not a bad thing because that's what you want to do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, actually, Max, Max, fucking love Max. Said at the beginning of the show that the hardest part of any creative task is actually doing it. So true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it comes to generating a new idea, to switch, you know, gears and vibes and flavors of, you know, what you're putting out at the time. If it's, you know, doing Inktober right now, which we're in the midst of, which
Yep.
I'm like 4 days behind. I'm going to be, you know, drawing away in a bit. And any of that, it all feels really hard. It all feels really impossible. But like once you just start doing it just a little bit a day, you'll make progress. And that's better than nothing. I walked by a panel and they were talking about writing, and it was in that pro lounge where that's kind of crazy. They had like special pro panels for
Yes.
people
Yeah.
to check out. And so I overheard one of the panelists saying, like, you know, writing every day is hard, and you could be really hard on yourself for not doing your craft once a day. And you know, everyone always says, do this daily, do this daily, and if not, you're never gonna make it. And she was saying, like, you know, sometimes like you can't, but if you just write a sentence of how you're feeling, maybe just a sentence on what you did that day, just anything, and you tell yourself, I wrote something today. I still wrote something. And that will go a lot farther than just like, you know, hurting yourself for,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
not doing it daily. So just make it, even if you did a doodle, even if you did a 5-minute sketch, anything you do will make a difference. And that means you did it that day. So just keep it up and keep going at it. And Max said I'm gonna get a slap on the wrist for late Inktober. I'm doing 2 drawings a day. I'm catching up. I will be there. But Anthony, anything else you want to spit out? Anything else you want to promote? Anything else upcoming?
No, I think, you know, this was such a fun weekend. I'm excited to just, you know, like I said, dive into more comics, make more, read more. Um, Check out Superguy if you haven't. If you want to DM me, I could give you a copy of the one shot, a preview of the first issue, but the first issue you could buy from my Ko-Fi shop. You could also read a preview of it on Global Comics. So it's out there in so many different ways. You can't miss Superguy. I'm always posting about it. Issue 2 is coming out early 2026. We have the pre-launch on Kickstarter, so you could save that page. That would be genuinely helpful to me. But yeah, just look out for more comics from me.
And don't forget to check out Anthony's show, Comics and Chronic. It's great.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
phenomenal. We have lots of creators on there. I'll be on there soon.
Hell
And
yeah.
with that being said, that wraps up tonight's show. Anthony, thank you so much. Thanks for hanging. I will see anybody who's going to Baltimore Comic Con. Please, you know, tag Comics Wellspring. I'll share your stuff. I'll definitely go by and say hi. We'll have our street team there. I'll be getting footage. We do a panel Sunday at 12 with Global Comics talking about our partnership with them. Yeah, it's the last con I'm doing for the year until our virtual con in November, which we'll be hyping up right after Baltimore Con. I'll send you an invite for some panels. Actually, we got to talk about that.
Oh, hell yeah.
But other than that, I think that's kind of all the announcements I have for As Tired, and I'm gonna go sleep early tonight. I'm exhausted. So thank you all for hanging tonight. Anthony, you're the best.
Thanks, Brandon.
Print your comics with Comics Wellspring.